Hello, my name is Ryan Floyd. And in this video, I'm going to summarize one of the articles that we had for class, Moments of Greatness, Entering the Fundamental State of Leadership by Robert Quinn. Dr. Quinn is a well-recognized emeritus professor who has published numerous books on leadership. Moments of Greatness is actually a summary of one of his books titled Lift, the Fundamental State of Leadership. In his work, Quinn asserts that he and his colleagues found, and I quote, that when leaders do their best work, they don't copy anyone. Instead, they draw on their fundamental values and capabilities, operating in a frame of mind that is true to them, yet paradoxically not their normal state of being. In the normal state, we get complacent. We choose the path of least resistance, which is not conducive to creativity and real opportunities for leadership. To escape that normal state, something he also calls the comfort-centered state, Quinn asserts that people must make a shift to what he calls the fundamental state of leadership. Moving into the fundamental state of leadership occurs when a person transcends their normal state and reaches a point where they are more open to evaluating their situation and willing to explore a variety of new ideas and approaches to their problem. Now, to reach that fundamental state, you don't have to be a Buddha, and it doesn't require deep meditation. But to get into the fundamental state, Quinn does assert that people must move through 4 dimensions and ask 4 related questions. The first is results-centered. To be results-centered, people need to ask themselves, what result are they seeking? This question forces a person to begin defining their vision and focusing their energy on finding a way to pursue that vision. A person must become internally directed as well. Quinn is arguing here that people need to reflect on their core values and ensure that they remain a central factor in their decision-making process. Third, people need to be other-focused. Here, Quinn appears to be arguing that people should set aside their personal ambitions and desire for personal success to concentrate on the collective good of the organization and those around them. Quinn asserts that, and I quote, when we put the collective good first, others reward us with their trust and respect. As he notes later in the article, in discussing the 4 essential questions that people must ask while in that fundamental state, focusing on self-interest corrodes others' trust, and they do not get energized by our leadership. Trust and respect are essential for long-term levels of performance. And as he writes, trust and respect are necessary if we want others to stay focused on the vision when we're not around. Also, focusing on others prompts a sense of empathy and means that conflict will be easier to address and overcome. Thus, focusing on the needs of others and the wider organization results in drawing people to our leadership and getting the best results from them. Lastly, a person must be externally open. This means that they must become more open to outside signals and stimuli. Doing so allows a person to have a better idea of how things are changing around them and to adapt in unique and creative ways. By being externally open, we refocus. We move away from trying to control our environment to learning from it. Overall, the 4 dimensions argument is reasonable, and recognizing the 4 dimensions and asking yourself the 4 related questions can stimulate a changed state of mind. The fundamental state of leadership would spark creativity and productivity, which are not part of the normal state because people must get out of their comfort zones. Well, this article has a lot of relevance in leadership. In addition to some of the comments that I've made earlier, if we focus on the arguments made by scholars to address leadership, we can see a lot of connections. Being open to external stimuli plays an important part in creating the learning culture that Edgar Schein calls for in creating and managing a learning culture. Schein emphasizes the importance of being externally open when he calls on leaders to have a, and I quote, commitment to learning to learn. It's also a reasonable way to respond to change once the need for change is identified. Thus, the 4 dimensions help organizations, as John Cotter asserts, cope with change. If you refer to Dennis Perkins' examination of Edward Shackleton's leadership during the ill-fated expedition to Antarctica, you can see that Shackleton regularly entered the fundamental state of leadership. He was almost always results-centered. He stuck to his core values. He kept the well-being of his crew in mind when making decisions, and he was externally open, which allowed him to consider creative ideas put forward by his men, but often ended in success.